Good evening, good afternoon, depending on when and where you're watching. Again, welcome to the Black History Discussion Series, sponsored by the uh, Illinois Historical Commission of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. My name is Brother Charles Smoot. I have the pleasure of serving as the historian for the District of Illinois. Today, I'm very happy and excited to have Brother Boyedes Sobitan, who is the founder of Oja Express, here to talk with us about his journey and his process. Couple of quick housekeeping notes. Last week, we were scheduled to have a conversation with Brother Shaka Rawls, who is the president of Leo Catholic High School. Unfortunately, due to logistical problems, we had to postpone that. So that we will be publishing that interview next Monday or next Tuesday. So please keep an eye out for that. And to round out Black History Month, we have the pleasure of Brother Dr. Ernest Jackson, who is the first Black forensic dentist in the entire world, currently the head dentist for the Department of Corrections in Missouri. He will be with us next Thursday live. So make sure you subscribe, click like, subscribe, follow us on YouTube or on our Facebook page, and you can keep abreast of not only the things that we're doing for Black History Month, but the other individuals that we will be talking to after Black History Month. I do want to bring on, we do have a special co-host today. So I do want to bring on our assistant district historian, Brother Elvis Kawasi. We can bring him on.
Hello,
Brother
hello.
Elvis, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Good. It's glad to see you. I'm glad you're able to join us. Brother Kawasi, I've talked a little bit about myself on this platform. Tell us a little bit briefly about yourself and what you're involved in.
Okay. Well, my name is Elvis Kwasi. I currently attend the University of Illinois at Chicago, majoring in urban studies with a minor in French and GIS. It's actually my very last semester, so I'm looking forward to graduating. As far as my role from the fraternity, I serve as the assistant district Illinois historian, and I joined the Theta chapter, graded Theta chapter, 2022, spring 2022. So coming up on 2 years, which I'm really excited about. And in addition to that, I have a couple of roles on campus as well. But I'm really excited to be here and really excited to be able to interview one of our own.
Well, I'm glad that you are here with us and that you can help out with this. Just so everyone knows, Brother Kwasi will be serving as the co-host for this event. So I do want to bring Brother Sobitan on the line, and I also would like to ask our district director, Brother McKenzie, to come on for a brief moment, just because I want to do something. So, Brother McKenzie, if you don't mind, thank you.
Brothers.
All right, brother. For those who not remember, for those who are not aware or saw last time, Brother McKenzie was our first guest this month, and he serves as the district director of Illinois. Brother McKenzie, I do want to thank you, and thank you for helping to facilitate this. But I want to take a moment of personal privilege before we get into everything. You know, yesterday was the second greatest day in Alpha Phi Alpha history. Because on February 21st, 1910, 6 medical students chartered a chapter. Elvis, what chapter is that?
Graded Theta chapter.
Graded Theta chapter. And, so we are those, and we'll get into this with Brother Sobitan, but we are the chapter that started it all here in Illinois. And so I just wanted our district director to say a word to our Theta brothers near and far on our 114th anniversary.
114 years. Well, listen, Theta is always close to me. When I came through the fraternity, Theta has something to do with that.
Yes, sir.
And So I want to take a moment to wish the men of Theta happy 114 years. That's astounding. I mean, that is an incredible story to be told. And to think that in a place like Chicago, in Illinois, a place that, remember, Smoot King called one of the most racist cities in America. Theta chapter has been thriving and flourishing for 114 years, and certainly that is to be commended. Theta has a long history of producing men of alpha who are movers and shakers and world changers. And so I'm sure that all the men of Alpha Illinois, including, by the way, our our regional vice president and our general president, who are all Alpha Illinois men and Alpha worldwide, join me in congratulating Alpha for making that milestone. So how befitting it is, coming off of 114 years, to present a man of that great chapter tonight. So I know this is going to be good. I'm excited to hear from Brother Boyede. I know he has an incredible story, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate you for graciously letting me put you on the spot. But that's what deuces do,
and that's why captains are always ready.
So, with that, thank you, Brother McKenzie. And with that being said, I do want to introduce our guest tonight, Brother Boyedes Sobitan. He is the founder of Oja Express, and he matriculated here in Chicago. He has an incredible story, and so we are very happy, Brother Sobitan, to have you here with us. How are you doing tonight?
Doing very good. I'm honored to be here, to be talking to the brothers. I don't know. I was telling you earlier, I've done many interviews, CNN, ESPN, I'm not ESPN, CNN, Ebony Magazine, tons of national interviews, but I think this one means a lot more to me. Just due to I'm speaking to Black men, Black leaders. I care way more about the opinions of the brothers and my community than not say I don't care about everybody else, of course, but this interview means a lot. So thank you for honoring me to let me speak, share my story.
Well, thank you for agreeing. And I think one of the things you just said is that we have a number of Black men who are doing amazing things and who are making an impact on our history on a regular basis. And sometimes we are not fully familiar with that. And I've been watching. Obviously, I've known you for a while. I think we're going on 21 years now.
21 years.
Yeah. So it has been a pleasure, honestly, to watch your development, both as you matriculated when you were in college and to where you are now. And so I just wanted to make sure to share with our audience and share with others so they understand your story. So let's get into it.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, your early education, just all those types of things.
Yeah, I like to. I actually have it on my line jacket. I like to say I'm born in Nigeria, raised in Chicago, and made in Theta. So that sums it up pretty much. My family came to Chicago in the early '80s on the north side of Chicago, which is known as probably Little Africa, whatever you want to call it, the uptown community in Chicago. Mm-hmm. Still very full of many African immigrants. After some times, they moved because they wanted a house, moved to the suburbs. So I ended up going to grammar school through high school in the south suburbs in Thornridge High School. Yep. After that, went to UIC, and I took a very unconventional yet strategic route. I wanted to be a doctor, but I also wanted to see what major would give me early exposure to healthcare while I was an undergrad. And when I did the analysis, I came up with nursing. So the goal was to be a nurse for a couple of years, get the experience, and then go on to medical school.
Let me pause you for a quick second. I want to ask you two questions. What part of Nigeria were you born in?
I was born in Lagos.
Lagos, okay.
Yeah, my ancestral home is Abeokuta, which is in the southwest portion of Nigeria.
Okay. Now, when you say when you were, because I remember when you were back when you were in college, and you just said that initially you did want to be a doctor. What was it about healthcare that initially attracted you? What was it that made you want to go into that field?
I think, in retrospect, understanding the pressures of an immigrant child. Invariably, you talk to any Nigerian immigrant or African immigrant for that matter. You either a doctor, lawyer, engineer, one of those three. You had to be one of those things, or the fourth option was a failure. That's pretty much.
That's confirmed.
I see Elvis. I see Elvis is agreeing with that.
Sure. So that was the goal. So of course, getting to school, getting to UIC, being on campus, being in literally the heart of the city, and also just doing a lot of different things. I was one of the early founding members of the African Student Union. I think they call themselves the African Cultural Association or whatever they call themselves now. I was an RA, one of the few Black male RAs on campus. So just being very exposed to a lot of different things opened my eyes to what I can do in healthcare, and not just limiting myself to just either nursing or medicine for that matter. I could do a lot more.
I actually had a question about that as well, specifically with the African Student Council. What led you to create that?
Yeah, so I was one of the first early executives. A lady by the name of Allah Erobobo and a number of other people were like the spearheads. There were women, of course, but also in Chicago, I was one of the first waves of like Nigerian immigrants that kind of came to Chicago, or kids that grew from Nigerian immigrants that grew up. So we had our crew. So one of the early things we had when I was growing up was an organization called NIA, the Nigerian American Youth Association. So that kind of helps us preserve our culture, helped us look out for one another, things of that nature. And when I went to UIC, I noticed there was a lot of African immigrants that were on campus, but we weren't really coming together and doing things. Now they had BSU, and shout out to BSU too, but this it was a different spin on the Black experience, and there's a lot of different Black experiences that should all be respected. So that's when it started. So I had that experience, and I knew a lot of people because I like to call myself a Shigerian. Chicago of
I like that
attraction. So it was just easy. So we one of the first members. I was one of the first African Student Union shows, like the cultural shows. I literally was the spearhead for that show. I put that show together. I got a brother Yao to step in it. I got a lot of different influences. So I left my mark on UIC. One of the other things I did was, if you see the gym across the street on Halsted Street or on the West Campus, I was one of the student representatives that pretty much led the referendum to get that passed. So with I think Ray Clay, Brian Cousins, who's still on campus now, I was one of the early students to kind of like really get students excited, because if you saw the gym before compared to now, it's a world of difference. I mean, not to make light of the prison system, but it definitely looked like a county gym yard before.
You're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong.
Compared to the world-class facilities, right? It is right on Halsted. So I like to point to people like, yeah, I had a role in that. So I did a lot on campus, and it showed me that I had a lot of range outside of just the medical sphere. I could do a lot more.
Now, let me ask before we move forward. I want to ask, when you were coming up in Chicago as an immigrant, what was that like for you that you perceived as opposed to some of your African American peers? Like, what differences or challenges do you feel that you faced as someone who was from Nigeria?
Oh, it was very challenging. It was I felt I was straddling two worlds. Like, on the surface, of course, I look Black, and I'm able to speak in a way that if you didn't know from either facial features of my name, you wouldn't be none the wiser. But then, of course, in my home, in my church, totally different thing, totally different culture. So that whole, people like to say code switch. I had the culture switch depending on who I was with and where I was. I mean, I could literally go from like talking very like I'm talking now to then turning on my Nigerian accents and talking like doing whatever I need to do to kind of get along with the crowd I got along. So I kind of grew up that way. But I think additionally, if you think about by the time I'm coming of age in the late 80s, early 90s, prior to social media, there's a lot of ignorance about what Africa is. Like on social media, you can see the difference. You can see people are going to Ghana every winter now and doing their thing and having fun on the continent. Before, people really had this save the children's mentality of what it was like, and it was kind of confusing to me because like I just came back like 2 weeks ago, and it was not like what we see on TV. So trying to explain that to people who could not see or you can't show pictures to, because back then you had to go to Walgreens and develop the film and do that whole process, as opposed to having like instant technology to show people like, look, this is what it is. So, and of course, growing up, the kids are mean. I'm sure everybody heard the African booty scratcher, all the other things that kind of come along with that. But I think now, seeing the growth of the intercultural relationships growing, just like last night, Burna Boy was in Chicago in the Wind Trust, sold out concert, and most of the people I saw posting weren't even Nigerian. So to seeing that on the platform, or hearing my friends say, "Hey, I want to learn how to speak Yoruba," or "Hey, when next time you're going, I want to go with you." I think being able to be alive to see that shift is a beautiful thing.
So that brings us to, kind of segues, given your experience as an immigrant and getting used to the culture when you were at UIC. I remember when I first met you. I remember when you were trying to become a member of the fraternity, and I always remember you asking a lot of questions. You were very inquisitive, and you were trying to. It seemed to me you were trying to ask questions to make sense of things. But what was it that drew you to Alpha? What was it about Alpha that attracted you and that made you want to become a member?
Definitely. So again, going back to my cultural roots, one of the big things that I grew up with is the power of association. Who do you associate yourself with? And being able to just do the history of Alpha alone. Of course, everybody gonna go to Martin Luther King. that's like that's our gold standard of like, hey, but like being able to affiliate and associate yourself with brothers who've just made a significant mark, not just in the US, but in the world, I think was the telltale sign. Of course, growing up, coming as a freshman, you see everybody and everything looks cool. Everybody's doing different things, but then also looking at the substantive work. And even like the heroes that we don't see always in front of the cameras. I think that was my I had to be associated with it. And not to mention my ships. I think only 2 of my ships were from African American. If you want to categorize that way, I think one of our aliases was SS United Nations. So
that was almost y'all. That was almost y'all's ship name. It came very close to that being y'all ship's name.
You got to think about it. It was me from Nigeria. We had 2 Haitians. We had a Eritrean. We had an Afro-Peruvian in Detroit and Chicago. So that was what it was. So I think that also was a huge thing, the cultural bonding and the sharing amongst us about how we get down and how we do things in our respective homelands and culture. I think that was a beautiful thing. And then to bring that all together into one ship and to come through as a line, I think that was very, very powerful. And I think that also was very somewhat paradigm shifting at that time. You got to think about early 2000s as well. So I think that's a beautiful thing.
I have another question too. How were you able to hold up your identity as you were going through, as you've already, when you were already became a part of the fraternity? How were you able to uphold your Nigerian identity and kind of maintain that code switching, but still being able to show up as authentically you?
One of the things I want to say, it was one of the things, and Chuck knows, when I was on, I loved history. I loved just being able to spit facts, all those different things. And I want to say it was an early brother in, I want to say Delta chapter, University of Toronto. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've been a minister. I've been in a history book, so correct me if I'm wrong. But and I noticed there was a brother that had a Nigerian name. So I'm like,
he was actually a prince. Yeah.
So I'm thinking about this is, you think about early 1900s, and there's already somebody, a Nigerian already in the fraternity. And not to mention, like, even for me, when I was coming through, I had early examples, like in Theta chapter, Joha Matuku. You had a brother, Oke Enya from Mew Mew. You had brother Kwam Erobobo from New Row. So it was other people that were already out there And then lastly, I just think there was just an alignment of values. Who does not want to align with excellence?
Right.
Who does not want to align with service? I mean, all those things to me, I think are very, very imbued in African culture and definitely my family's values. So it wasn't, to me, it wasn't need to switch because those are already my values.
Right. Community for sure as well.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny. I was watching you all's probate show the other day, and not the other day, but a few weeks ago. At UIC, and I just want to remember y'all messed up my greeting. So yeah, I'm just saying, you owe me, bro.
Yeah, we do. That was Charles. Charles was the captain on that one. So
I always blame the captains, but now I do want to, because one of the things that you were a part of while you were in the fraternity in 2005. In 2005, a Theta chapter of Alpha Alpha was named the National College Chapter of the Year. You were part of the chapter of that time. What was that like, competing, representing the fraternity on that level, and particularly given what you've talked about of your background for you personally, that type of achievement? And you all were winning, a ton of awards during that time. But, it was really, it was a pinnacle. What was that like for you, both as a member and as someone who, was dealing with the cultural issues that you just raised?
It was a lot of things. That whole, you can write a movie, low key, and I'm not trying to be exaggerate when I said you could literally write a movie about how we won chapter of the year. The year before, we got up to regionals and we lost. And Kelly was our chapter president at the time. And it was a bitter feeling. Like we were really an arrogant group. Like we really felt entitled. I don't when we talk about the limitlessness and this like belief in yourself. We just believed that we were owed, that something was taken from us. So the following year, we were just on top of it with everything. We made sure they had brothers on every level of both district to regional to national leadership. We can remember Vlad was the Midwestern AVP. We made sure in our community we had brothers everywhere. But then also, what people don't know is that our display never got there on time. Like our display,
I remember that,
to Houston, Texas, in 2005, an hour before judgment. We had literally no display. So we see all these chapters, and they're looking at us. They just had like a little nameplate that said Theta. And then all these other chapters had these fantastic displays. And then when the display doors open, and me, as myself and Denard, and Kelly, we got up. We literally, Denard pulled some strings. We got onto the tarmac on FedEx's plane, got our display off of there, set it up in the hotel room, like 4:00 in the morning. And Vlad gave a fantastic presentation, and we won. But I think the things leading up to that, the whole aspect of the bitterness of defeat from the year before, and then making sure we had nothing missing the following year, and just the grit to, like, we could have just like, oh well, our display's not here, wasn't meant to be. Like, nah, we're gonna get on that plane and get the display and do what we got to do to make this happen. So I think that was one of those things whereby almost 18 years later, we still brag about it. Yep. Like, we still brag about it. But I think another thing too, what people don't know, another backstory is myself, Vlad, my ship, and brother Cornell Benford. We went to the College Brothers Retreat in 2003, and we met then President-elect Daryl Matthews. And we're presenting ourselves, and we're Neos, we're from Theta, and Daryl Matthews looked at us like, Theta? No, y'all can't be from Theta. Like the Theta I knew. So we're now like, oh really? So we're like, okay, we're gonna prove it to you, and we came through. I don't want to talk about the in between discussions in between then, but it was really, really resurrecting the history of Theta chapter, the men that came before us that done so many great things, and really wanted to be able to highlight that on a national level. It's still a point of pride. I think every line that comes through, we remind them, the year we won, 2000. I mean, we brag about it like we were like the 3P Bulls. Like, that's how much we still talk about it to this day.
Well, Elvis and them almost got you. They almost got you, because when Elvis was in the chapter, not Elvis, when Elvis was a neophyte, is when the chapter won regional chapter of the year and came very close to winning college chapter of the year. But who knows what will happen in the future.
Yep.
I do want to move forward. I want to talk a little bit about your healthcare career, your career as a nurse. If I'm not mistaken, did you also get a master's in nursing or?
I'll have my master's in healthcare administration.
Healthcare administration, okay.
And another fun fact, it was 3 Theta brothers that were the initial that started the program. Literally, they had a new program at UIC. It was myself, my ship Ambrose. Of course, SWAT D got to be involved in everything. And then our brother Reginald Kantav, and we were the first graduates from the MHA program, which is now a top 20 or top 10 MHA program now.
Okay.
So we were in Ebony Magazine in 2007. So we all 3 of us went through the program together. And we all gone on to do different things within the administrative ranks and entrepreneurial ranks.
So what was it like? Where did you work in healthcare as a nurse, and what was your experience like within that?
Yeah, so my first job out of undergrad was at the University of Chicago hospitals, and I was in the ICU. I wanted to be in the ICU, but in retrospect, I was probably like, man, maybe I shouldn't have, because there was a lot of things you see in the ICU settings. If you've ever had family in the ICU setting, you probably know what I'm talking about. That I was witnessing and dealing with at the age of 20, 21, 22. So that was my first foray. Did a lot, seen a lot. Funny enough, I personally was responsible for taking care of a number of brothers, family members. I was one of the nurses or a few last people that some of them family members saw that were brothers from the district. So that's both a point of pain, but also a point of pride, knowing that there was a brother that was there, that was looking after their family member and making sure that they transition with dignity, they were comfortable, things of that nature. So I learned a lot, grew up very, very quickly in that kind of setting, because you go to work in any given moment, anything can happen, and you're dealing with, death, to be blunt about it.
Right.
So that was my career. I was one of the busiest ICUs in the city. I want to say probably in the nation. Saw a lot, did a lot, and got a great experience from doing that.
And before we go, just one thing that it just occurred to me, I want to ask you about. There's a lot of talk about the quality of the disparities in the quality of healthcare that African Americans and others receive, as opposed to our Caucasian counterparts and others. What did you see any of that, and how did that impact you in your role in working in healthcare?
Absolutely. The reality of the matter is there's a cultural divide with how people are perceived within a cultural settings. Especially if you're Black, you're perceived to be stronger. You could take it, or you're drug seeking and you're a dope fiend. So one thing that I was proud about from my unit, like all the Black nurses, it was only 2 Black guys. I was one of the 2 Black guys. And all the Black female nurses, we used to make sure we used to look out for our Black patients, even if there were people that weren't Black that were watching them, making sure, check in with the family. Are you getting everything okay? You need anything? If something's funny, you can ask for an assignment switch. So very, very much so. I mean, I tell a story. It's actually in one of the books at University of Chicago, where I had a woman who I was taking care of, and she got diagnosed with a very, very rare pneumonia that if she had been put on a ventilator, she was never going to get off that ventilator. So I was taking care of another patient right next to her. I wasn't assigned to her this time. Then she coded. That's medical terminology. Like she was very sick. So I'm in the room. I've been taking care of this woman for the past 2 weeks. So I'm in the room taking charge, doing CPR, doing everything to resuscitate her. In tears, like, no, I'm not gonna let this happen. I'm not gonna let this happen. And then her husband saw me. He was like, no, just stop, let her go. And mind you, me and this lady were talking. She called me Bob. I don't know why she thought my name was Bob or Bill. I just looked like Bob or Bill to her. I still remember this very vividly. And then she had a daughter that was gonna get married in a couple of weeks that she wanted to get out the hospital to go see that. And she had her son that was gonna have his first baseball game that he'd been practicing so long for. And that was in my mind as I'm trying to make sure that I do everything I can to ensure this woman is alive. So she passes away, and that's actually was a turn in my career. I like, can I keep doing this? Because I literally poured everything to resuscitate this lady. Cried the whole 9 yards. A couple of weeks later, it's Bud Billiken. It was my first and last Bud Billiken parade participating in, because for various reasons. So we with the bros, we strolling down King Drive doing our thing, and this guy in the SEIU shirt jumps the banners or whatever you want to call it, the barriers, and comes and just hugs me. I'm like I'm getting ready to fight. Like who is this? Come and just hug me. All these people gonna hug me? Like what's going on? Come to find out, it was the lady's husband.
Wow.
He, like I said, there's tons of bros. Not to say all black people look alike, but there's tons of bros.
Right.
A whole bunch of black people. And he spotted me out of the crowd, hugged me, and he was like, "You know what? Thank you. I saw that you gave everything to make sure my wife was around, and we talked about you at the funeral and things of that nature." And those are some of the things I kind of cling on to. So, to your point directly that you mentioned, brother Smoot, yes, there are disparities. Yes, we need more providers on every level of healthcare. Because the reality of the matter is there's a lot of people who don't understand how Black people interact, talk, live, and they can't often give care that's culturally competent and culturally relevant.
And before I move on, Elvis, did you have any questions, or did you have anything you want to bring up?
No, I didn't, but my mother, she's also a nurse, and I definitely understand her presence as far as ensuring that Black patients are actually taken care of. It takes a lot. It definitely takes a lot for you to do that at such a young age. I definitely commend you for staying in that position. I did want to ask, how long were you at U Chicago?
I was at U Chicago for 2.5 years before going to grad school. But I want to back up a little bit, because when we talk about Black providers and Black professionals, our people also have some education to do too. There's been a number of times I've come into a patient's room and I've been told, the garbage has been overflowing. You got to take that out. Like, ma'am, I'm not your janitor. I'm actually your nurse. So, and then also, you also got to understand that, there at the time, there were not a lot of Black male nurses at that time. So I think now more and more men are Black men are open to the idea of nursing. You got brother Taki Salam doing his thing, and like Tunde, he's a nurse now. A lot of brothers who are doing it now, but then it wasn't a thing. So you see me come in scrub, you think I'm supposed to take out your garbage and clean your room, and I've had that happen innumerable amount of times from some of our own people. So there's also a mindset shift that needs to happen there as well.
Now, so I mean, going back but going forward, one of the things I do remember, and you actually referenced this earlier, is you always had an eye towards entrepreneurship. You always talked about business and operating something. You, at least with me at the time, it wasn't exactly specific, but at a certain point, you began to capitalize on that entrepreneurial spirit. And so, how did, first of all, like I said, you are the one of the founders of Oja Express, which is a West African food delivery service. And am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, Oja Express. We were more of an international, more looking for immigrant focused groceries, but West African food is where we started. So
tell me what created the idea for that, how you got it, how you came up with the idea for it, and how you grew the business.
Yeah, no, definitely. Again, going back to something I said earlier about like this irrational confidence that a lot of us had back in the early 2000s, and I'm sure hopefully it's still there. So of course, through my career, I talked a lot about my clinical background, but I've had actually more time in administrative roles and consulting roles than my best side. I think I was at the best side for a total of maybe 8 years. But most of my career in healthcare after my master's was actually in executive suites. So I've been an administrative fellow. I've been a practice administrator. I've been a consultant for a number of years. I've been an executive director. So in those roles, you kind of really understand the business of healthcare and business. And especially in consulting, you understand how to frame problems, how to address problems, how to come up with solutions. So it was pretty much a problem while I was consulting whereby my mom, I'll be in Houston doing a consulting project, and my mom will call me and say, hey, when you get back, I need you to come to the African store with me. And if you know consulting, it's you catching a red-eye flight on Monday, you catching the last flight out on Thursday. So effectively, you only have like 2 days to be in your respective city to like kind of relax and chill. And I'm not trying to spend those precious hours in an African grocery store. As Brother Elvis could probably allude to, grocery shopping for immigrants, regardless if you're African, Hispanic, or Filipino, whatever, it's a totally different experience than when you're just going to Mariano's, Jules, or if you're old school, Dominic's at the time. Right. It's part grocery acquiring the food, but part a cultural experience too. So needless to say, my mom was that battle 10 out of 10 times. So I'm on the southeast side helping her groceries, living in Washington Park, driving to Dalton, picking her up, taking her to the store, taking her back home, unloading her groceries, and driving. So my 4 or 5 hours out of my Saturday is already gone.
Right.
So now I'm thinking like there got to be a solution behind it. Like, why can't I just order this for her and just have it shipped to her house? I'd much rather do that. That's a better use of my time. So as I looked, there was nothing out there that did delivery or groceries for specifically at this time African groceries. And that's kind of where the idea started. Now, with that being said, I learned all these skills in consulting. I've learned all the skills in management. And oftentimes we limit ourselves to say, oh, well, somebody else will solve it. Or I'll just wait till something else comes along. So I didn't want to wait. I felt that there was a growing population with disposable income that needed this service. And that's where my co-founder at the time and I got together and we launched Udra Express, which was pretty much set to be the immigrant version of Instacart. And we didn't know Instacart even existed at the time, but that's pretty much what we do. So we partner with stores that sell groceries that are culturally specific. So right now, primarily African, Hispanic groceries. We're trying to get Indian and Asian groceries on the board. And we want to be a one-stop shop for anybody who's looking for any other cultural cuisine. So like we literally call ourselves the United Nation of Groceries at your fingertips.
I like that. I did want to mention too, because I grew up in New Jersey, and specifically where I'm from, literally to an hour away from New York. So that whole area, that Northeast area, is just dense and just a whole bunch of different cultures and a lot of stores, ethnic stores are in that area. Whereas Chicago is a little different. I feel like the stores are blocked off in certain neighborhoods. How did you really come about bringing people to store? For example, like you mentioned, you moved into the South suburbs. So how were you able to bring the businesses over to the South suburbs, so to speak, like deliver the supplies and things over to the South suburbs? If that
it was and it is a very hard process.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you about the is and the goings on in the later part of this conversation. But like even for the store owners, they're kind of more like if you build it, they will come. They were not very tech savvy. Some of these stores still had key punch registers. Right. Some of these stores had like metal old school registers, the one you press up and you see a tag come up with what you have to pay. So trying to now implement technology, I had to then step back and say, okay, what makes sense? How can we get these things on board in a very easy way? I'm used to talking about spreadsheets and CSV files and things of that nature. And they're like, we just do this on a yellow legal pad and do the work. So it's a challenge. It was a challenge. And I think that we were one of the early entrants into the market. I think we've also set a tone for the market, both domestically and also internationally. I think I see a lot of copycats of our business. Some of them are still around. Some of them have shut down. But we kind of set that model. And I think that as we see more and more diversifying of the United States, we know that sentinel date, 2038, 2040, is when the United States is going to be a majority non-white population, that you're going to see more and more wants and requests for different cultural flavors and different cultural foods. And I also think entertainment has helped. I think Afro beats has made people want to eat jollof. I mean, I have women come up to me telling myself, how do you make jollof rice? And like, they want to do all these different things, cultural things.
I remember I asked you that once.
I think Nollywood, I think that cultural interchange. I mean, I think I was when I was in Lagos a couple years ago, I saw a lot of barbecue joints from people who moved from Tennessee to Nigeria. So we're seeing these things happening on a very micro level. I think with more time, you're going to see a lot more wider adoption of people wanting to have these cultural foods. And I think that the one aisle in the current grocery store, the international aisle, is not enough to contain the full flavor and range of all cultures, not just African culture. I'm talking about Caribbean culture. I'm talking about Colombian culture. I'm talking about Filipino culture. All these different ethnic groups that have to go to different stores to get their full fulfillment of their cultural experiences.
Yeah.
So when you guys launched the business, and I remember when I first heard that you were doing it, I forgot who initially told me about it, but I remember my thought was, oh my God, that's brilliant. And as someone who has enjoyed ethnic foods, not that I cook them very much, but it just seemed that it was, for my Americanized attitude, like, oh my God, this is brilliant. It totally makes sense. But I understand not everyone thinks like me. So what was, I know you had, a little bit of success early on, but what was the initial reaction in terms of, not only in terms of working with the vendors, but in terms of attracting customers to the service?
We came out hot. Like we got into, at the time, DNA Info was a big local.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Publication. I think the analog to DNA Info is Block Club Chicago now. And we got that one interview, and then it just went viral. So that kind of got us our initial customers. But I think a lot of people underestimate the real challenges of building a business, especially in the startup culture. And I'm also divorcing myself with some of the startup methodologies as well, too, in some parts. But it's hard because you have to get customer trust. Like, people got to trust that, is that meat fresh? Where did you get it from? Oh, you know what I'm saying? All those different things you got to how to overcome. So figuring out how to communicate people very succinctly, but very, very targeted as well, and get that trust was very, very huge for us. So I think that was hard. I think also building we like to call it a B2B2C, a business to business to customer type business, is also hard because you're chasing two different clientele. You're taking businesses with their interests and you try to herd all these customers to get them on the app. I think that's another big thing. I think one of the mistakes that we learned along the way is that we probably shouldn't have built the app first. Because when you build an app, I mean, there's certain things you just don't know. When you build an app, it takes a lot to get people to put an app on their phone because people have limited storage. So if there's an app on their phone, they got to use it a lot. So app real estate is a very big thing. But people go to websites all the time. And there's a lot more data you can collect from websites. So we learned that along the way as well. So it's been a journey. It's been a ride. I mean, there's been a lot of highs. There's been a lot of lows. But all the while, I think it's been one of those things that I oftentimes refer to a lot of my alpha poems, Test of a Man Who Thinks He Can, to kind of keep myself going, because it is very, very difficult.
And so, yeah, I mean, you mentioned that you came in hot, and we were seeing, it seemed like, and I know I'm exaggerating here, but it seemed like every week or every other week you were on somebody's TV show, or you were in somebody's magazine or something. There were profiles, and we were seeing all of this attention that you were getting, and obviously we were loving it, because we were enjoying the success that you were having. But I guess one thing I would, and I've heard you talk a few things over the years, but can you talk about like one of your great aha moments, like when you knew you had it, when you knew that you were onto something, and that you knew it was going to not be like so many other startups and fail in the first 3 to 5 years? Like, what was that? What was that moment like for you?
I think the moment for us, it was a couple of moments. We have a couple of inflection points. One of them was COVID. So before COVID was happening, we were in what we call an accelerator program. So it's a program where a company invests money in you. They incubate you for a number of years to help you build your product and build all these different things that you go. We were hearing about COVID, but it really didn't hit Chicago yet. My co-founder, at the time, who was based out of San Francisco, was in Chicago. I mean, we just started seeing a number of orders come through. I'm talking about orders we've never seen come through, like 300, 400, 500. And we did like a $10,000 week one time. We're like, we've never done that in a month. I'm like, what's going on? So that's when we knew we were on something. We became pretty much a mainstay for people. Like there were literal customers that we delivered to that literally lived across the street from a Jewel, but they were ordering from us. I mean, you have Jewel, you get a lot of your stuff from Jewel, but they're like, we want to get it from this because this is going to come from our country. So I think that was one. Another thing is in 2021, we were one of few Black founders or Black founded companies that were able to raise over $1 million in venture and angel funding. So we raised 1.2 million. We won different competitions. We won the Wharton schools. I've got the name of it was actually named after Brother Whitney Young. So we won that award. That was from Wharton. That was a big deal. We got investment from some of the biggest investment companies such as SoftBank in the country. So I think some of those things were huge for us because it kind of validated what we thought could be the potential. And even though we raised 1.2 million, which sounds like a lot of money, and I don't want to underscore that to say like it's insignificant, but in the scale of scaling a business, it's not as much as people think it is. But the understanding we were part of the less than 2% of founders that have ever raised that much money, that has something to say. I think that's more of an indictment on the venture industry than anything, but that still it was a feat that we were able to accomplish that we never thought we would accomplish. We got into some of the top accelerator programs in the country, such as Techstars. So there were some things that we did that gave people confidence and gave us confidence to keep going as we kind of continue to still build this business.
And you guys were you started getting named to a bunch of lists. I mean, there were awards and recognitions. I mean, I think you guys were, because weren't you guys listed in Crane's a couple of times?
We were because a couple of awards we won. We won the Ad Color Award. I think it's the Ad Color or one of those awards. We were recognized by.
You won so many you can't even remember them all.
I can't remember, but I mean, I'm thankful for them. I don't have them in front of me, but we did win a lot of awards. But honestly, and I want to be very, very clear. Like awards are cool, but revenue is better. Like it's cool to be awarded, but I much rather get more customers, and that's something I think we got stuck on. And it's easy for founders to kind of get into that. Let that get to your head. You're on you're on the cover of magazines, or you're in magazines, or you got these awards. Or I think one of the last things we got flown out to Times Square, and our logo was on the NASDAQ. Like huge things. Like I think that I honestly dreamt of. That I never thought would be possible for me. I just wanted to build a business, sell the business, and retire, and then go about my way. And I'm like doing all these great things. And I think there's an importance in that for the symbolism. Because I think it's important for people to see that there are Black people in tech, and mind you, I'm not technical. I have the business mind, I have the strategy mind, but I'm not quite technical. So understanding how to get somebody technical to come on board to build this product, to do the things that we were able to do and accomplish, I think is important for people to see and take it from there, and then again kind of blow it up from there, from whatever their minds or creativity goes.
Now you started primarily in Chicago, and is it my understanding that you are now expanding out into other markets?
Not quite. So we experienced what a lot of other companies have experienced post-COVID, somewhat of a contraction. So we had to kind of recapitalize and reimagine how we want to deliver this service. How do we still continue to provide the service we're providing, but maybe in a different way? And this is where Brother Alexander Williams, he's also a recent Theta brother, has come along. So now we're kind of focusing on building more grocery tech specifically to allow a lot of the grocery stores that want to participate in e-commerce and also the digital market space to do that in a very easy way. One of the things we realized through our journey was it's very hard for these stores to organize their data. So we're building software, but primarily led by Brother Williams, to help them automate that organization and then allow those stores to then put their products on any digital platform they would like. It could be ours, it could be DoorDash, it could be Instacart. So that's kind of what we're building right now.
Okay. All right, great.
Elvis, I actually do want to ask, even as we speak about COVID, what's one of the biggest lessons that you've learned? I mean, COVID just taught us all to pivot, but what's a lesson that, you've learned through the hardships that you faced throughout COVID with your business?
I would say mental health is real. I think in all of our respective journeys through Alpha, we're taught to tough things through. A lot of our poems teach us how to persevere and go through things. But I think that those poems are quite aspirational, and I think they're very important because those poems definitely held me down in some nights. But I think that also being able to lean on others and also being able to be very seek help when you think you need help. It just got to me. I was just overwhelmed.
Right.
There was a lot of things coming at me at the same time: family, COVID, business, all these different things. And also, again, I'm not in my strong suit. Healthcare is my background and strong suit. Now I'm in tech. It's a different language. There's way different. It's a different culture. It's a different way people operate. So there's somewhat of this thing called an imposter syndrome, where you're reading these books and you're trying to talk and be a certain way, and you can kind of lose yourself doing that. So I think for me, it's really kind of tapping into authenticity and also being very, very in tune to where you are mentally.
Mhm.
And so we're coming up on time, and I want to be respectful of your time, Brother Sobitan, and obviously Brother Kwasi. But I have two closing questions, and Brother Kwasi may have one. But one of them, one of my questions is, as a Black entrepreneur, as a person of African descent who has made an impact on in your industry, what words of, like maybe an elevator pitch or a quick 2-minute thing, what would you say or suggest to a young man or a young woman in college who is wants to be an entrepreneur or thinks they have a great idea? What type of thing would you suggest for them?
If you're in college, I'll definitely say take advantage of your youth while you have no major bills, no family obligations.
Amen to that.
Are you,
Elvis? Are you listening to that?
Yeah, I'm listening.
I'll say definitely take advantage of that. I think there's a lot of I think the reason why a lot of venture funds invest in a lot of younger people, even though the data suggests you're supposed to invest in people who are in their 30s and 40s, but because their risk tolerance and their ability to recover from failure is a lot greater than someone who takes a big risk and then fails in their 50s. That recovery cycle is a lot. It hits a lot harder when you're older. So I say take advantage of that. Take advantage of your professors. Because your student, everybody wants to talk to a student. So whoever you want to talk to, it don't matter if it's Elon Musk or a big name VC somewhere. Just say, "Hey, I'm a student. I'm trying to learn. Can I get some coffee?" Whatever. Take advantage of that as much as possible. Youth is really at your advantage at that age. And then lastly, just do it. No matter if it's a beautiful product or ugly product, do it and get it out in the marketplace. Get as much feedback as possible, and don't fear failure. I think a lot of us, because of our various financial constraints, maybe some of us are our first person to go to college in our family. Maybe for some people, they're the economic engine or backbone for their family. They don't have the latitude to take enough risks. But in knowing that and understanding that, like, you're going to learn a lot more through failures and what went wrong than what went right. Kind of what I mentioned earlier. Like, yeah, it's cool to get awards and be in these magazines and be invited to these places, but you want to be able to leverage those failures to build upon.
And one thing that I do want to applaud you for, I mean, you referenced Brother AJ Williams, who is a member of our college chapter. One thing that I applaud you for is when I have called you over the years to help mentor individuals who are looking to go in either your direction or something similar. One of the things I love is you never say no. You always say, yeah, I got it now. Sometimes you're busy and it's like, hey, I can't get them for a couple of weeks, but you always have a willingness to help and talk to young brothers, young men, to help guide them. So I personally want to say public, that's one thing I appreciate about what you've done and your willingness. I know part of it is maybe because I'm asking you or someone else was asking you, but still you have the willingness to not only help, but you're looking at hiring folks, which is huge. So I just want to applaud you for that. But
Appreciate it.
and while that, and I'm saying this publicly, I don't say nice things about you very often. So good. Thank goodness
I'm glad it's recorded. I'm glad this is
thank goodness it's being recorded. What's next for Oja Express? What's next? What can we look for?
Yeah, so basically, I kind of mentioned earlier, Brother Williams is helping us lead and also Brother David Matthews as well is also helping us kind of develop this new product that we're trying to release into the marketplace. I mentioned that we raised a lot of capital, well, relatively a lot of capital, been a lot of internal change, a lot of challenges. So we're just moving our direction, trying to get our product into different stores. We think that's an easier process than selling to millions of people. Selling to a couple tens of hundreds of thousands of stores will be a little bit different product. So we're hopefully by the end of March, we'll have that prototype released, and we can kind of use that to either determine if we want to raise capital or to say, hey, we could bootstrap this ourselves and sell this ourselves and go from there. One of the things I do really, really want to highlight is that when Brother Williams coming on board, he's not just working for experience, but he has equity in the company.
Yeah.
So what that means is that when this blows up, he hopefully will has a life-changing financial windfall as well. So I wanted to make sure I put him in that position at a very early age. And the worst that could happen is he just got a really crazy experience that he could then take on to go work in any other big tech firm, but not seeing how tech is laying off right now. Maybe he wants to kind of stick with us right now. So that's what we're working on now. Venture capital kind of has this mantra of build fast and break things. And when you're dealing with people's food and their culture, you don't have that liberty. So we want to be very, very deliberate in how we build. We don't want to just build for building's sake or build for the sake of investors. We really want to build for the sake of developing communities and helping communities have access to foods that they otherwise wouldn't have access to without our platform.
And God bless you for what you are doing with and for Brother Williams. I mean, when I first heard about that, honestly, dude, that almost brought me to tears when I heard how you are bringing him on, because that's very generous of you, but that's the spirit of what we're supposed to be about, not only as alphas, not only as members of Theta, but as Black men, supporting each other and lifting each other up and making opportunities for them. So once again, you're making me say nice things about you, and I don't like this. So So
when you do say mean things, I'm going to refer back to this recording. I'm just going to have
I'm going to have plausible deniability. Brother Kawase, is there any last questions you want to have?
Yeah, actually, I had two, but
okay.
I will say even that experience, because that was literally hours after he became a part of the fraternity. We went over to Vlad's property, and just seeing that interaction and how natural it came about, it definitely made me proud to be a part of this fraternity, and showed me what true brotherhood is like, because you're 20 years removed.
Yeah,
and still giving back, and I really appreciate that. My two questions were really, as the success of Oja Express has grown, how have you been able to still make time for your family, both immediate family here, but also family back home?
I never don't make time. I think I kind of center my life to include them in things I do. Funny thing, I have two boys, and I had to go to a pitch competition at for the Chicago Cubs. So I'm over here with I forgot the name of the family that owns the Cubs. But anyway, I had to go to their offices and pitch, and I was like, hey, I don't have anybody to watch my boys. And they're like, bring them with you. So like they've actually seen me pitch and be on stage and do different things. So when we talk about equity, we talk about venture, we talk about stock. So I kind of make it a point of incorporating it in their lives. I tell them about the steps on how do you build generational wealth, or what the playbook is. Understanding that the playbook could change by the time they're of age. Yeah. So I think that is how I do it. And also when I'm back home, which I'm going back home later this summer, it's an opportunity for content as well. Opportunity to learn what's going on the continent, and trying to see how I can incorporate it with what's going on over here, and trying to see if I can make linkages. I get tons of calls from companies from back home saying, hey, how can I get my product in the US? How can I do this? And it's just another opportunity for me to say, hey, how can we build a business out of that, about helping companies who are building products in CPGs back home on the continent or South America, and bring their products to stores on the shelves or on the digital shelves with our platform. So there's a lot of opportunities. I kind of interweave what I do as far as my entrepreneurial ventures with who I am and how I live.
Yeah, and that definitely will be exciting, especially seeing how the demographics are growing in a lot. Soon, by 2050, most of the big African cities, most of the most populated cities in the world are going to be African cities, African countries. So I'm wishing you luck on that. My next question is really just taking up space in taking up space in an industry that isn't predominantly Black. How have you been able to do that? You shared some of your tips, but this is more so now even tips that you can give me as I've also tried to expand and grow in an industry that isn't predominantly Black.
It depends on the industry. I've never been in. I don't think there is an industry in this country that's predominantly Black. Sure. So you think about healthcare, like I was one of the thing about consulting and management. They're not very predominantly Black. I think there is something to be said about having something that's anchoring, meaning like having either values or principle that you're not willing to break regardless, and making sure that people understand and respect it. And I think that was one thing that I had to learn early in my career, because I wanted to kind of be everywhere and do everything. And after a while, I had to say, after a while, this is who I am. And this is what I'm going to do. And this is what I'm not willing to do. So I think those are some of the things that, regardless of your background, it suits you well. There's no job I've been offered after I've kind of come to that self-awareness or that self-fulfillment in who I am, that I've turned down jobs that were paying a lot of money because I'm like, I don't think I'm going to like working with this guy. So no. And I told him why. So I think, but that comes with, if you early in your career, this is a point of self-actualization. But that comes with going through the fire, going through and understanding who you are. So it comes through a little bit of trial and error. But I think there's something to be said about anchoring your values and making sure that comes through in your personal brand.
Thank you.
So for as we prepare to wrap up, I want to bring the district director back on the call. In the meantime, people, please visit the website, ojaexpress.com, ojaexpress.com. Please check out the business on their website and place a couple of orders or what have you, and
tell
give the brothers and tell a friend and tell a stranger too.
Yep, exactly.
And keep them up. Brother McKenzie, we're going to give you last comment.
Hold on 1 second. Do I see Key Alpha back there? Is that Key Alpha? I see. Brother McKenzie.
Brother McKenzie, you got some Key Alpha back there?
Wait a minute, hold on.
I was wondering.
Wait a minute. And speaking of Black-owned businesses, I'm in Seth's business right now, Boyede.
Oh, wow.
So hey Seth, come here. So we got to highlight all these Black-owned business, man. Your story is so incredible, brother. I'm glad we were able to feature you tonight. They were saying, "What's that in your background?" I said, I forgot. I'm actually in Steph's business. So say hello to the brothers.
Hey, brothers, how are you all? It's good to see
you. What's going on, man?
What's going on, my brothers? Good to see you all, brothers.
Looks like I said, "Where's the DD?"
It's good to see you all. But yeah, we're here at the restaurant.
No, man, what an incredible story. I loved hearing about everything from the culture to navigating high expectations, to being courageous, having irrational confidence, and really sticking to it, man. It's a story worth telling. And again, I think you hold up the light of Alpha quite well. And no doubt that you're a representative of what a Theta man is. And I was just paying attention to Chuck's to his title there. And I know what that's like. I know what that's like, Chuck. Most people wish they could be a captain, but I'm glad you have finally told the world that you wish you were a captain.
Somebody lost the bet. Somebody lost the bet because ain't no way Chuck, whatever, like he has somebody lost the bet.
See, this is how when folks got jokes. So this is when that folks got jokes. But it's all good. It's all good. brother district director, I do want to remind you of an old Theta saying, is that revenge is a dish best served cold, especially coming from a Theta brother.
Yeah.
So look, watch out for me in Milwaukee. That's all I got to say.
Okay. No, excellent job. Chuck, I'm gonna go back and let you have the
No
last
problem.
word.
All right.
Okay.
So Brother Sobitan, any last parting words that you want to share with us?
No, I mean, first of all, again, this is a huge honor. I know I talk to Chuck all the time. I remember early on, I'm like, how do I get on there? How do I become one of the notable alphas? What do I got to do? And that was
And look at you now.
That was one of my goals. I mean, I think just within Theta, we think about Brother Paul King, who we just saw on Sunday. We think about John H. Johnson and Tom Burrell, and we think about these tastemakers, and we just think about even beyond Theta, all the great brothers who've done things throughout the state of Illinois. That is what I've always aspired to. That was my litmus test of, am I making movement? Do I have the respect of those brothers? And I know I'm still a work in progress. We're still working to build things out here with Agile Express and all the other things I'm doing. But I just want to just give a huge testament and shout out to the Brotherhood, the District of Illinois, the Midwest region, and Alphas worldwide. This is not a joke. This is something that's very, very serious, and I'm just feel very fortunate that I made a good decision as an undergrad to join the ranks of such notable Black men.
You're definitely happy. I mean, Elvis can tell you, because Elvis, I had on when you were coming through, I had Boyede up on the notable Theta presentation that I did for you all, right? Yeah. So yeah, you know, we got you there because, you know, my brother, we are so proud of you. We are so excited for what you've been doing. Like I said, I've been watching your career as you have developed, and I've been watching what you've been contributing to the culture, what you've been contributing to the business world, and how you always represent Alpha in the proper light, even when people don't know, you know, specifically that you're an Alpha, but you're still representing. So, my brother, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart that we are proud of you on behalf of Brother McKenzie just spoke, but also speaking for our regional vice president, Brother Frank Stacy. You know, we do appreciate you and your accomplishments as an Illinois brother. And we are looking forward, you know, to seeing more. Again, folks, go to the website, make some orders, tell a friend, tell a stranger, and, you know, get some good food and post some pictures on Facebook when you cook them so we can look at it and say, you know, hey, we got this because of Boyede.
Definitely.
Brother Kawasi, any parting words?
No, but thank you so much for the words of wisdom. And it's actually funny too, as you started off by talking about how you started African Student Council. I actually was a part of the e-board 2 years ago. I was a sophomore. So it's crazy. When I first heard that you were the founder, I was like, it just makes so much sense. It just makes so much sense. So it's been really interesting to see you make your impact on campus, grow to Chicago, and now national, international level. And I wish you all the best with your company.
Appreciate you, brothers. Thank you, brothers.
Brothers, again, thank you. And we are going to wrap things up. Again, people, next week, we have two more discussions. Our brother Shaka Rawls, who is the principal of Leo Catholic High School. We will be talking with him, and brother Dr. Ernest Jackson, who is a leading forensic dentist in the country. So please, again, subscribe, hit like, and feel free to share it with your friends and family. And remember that Black history is more than just in February. It is every day. And our job here is to highlight those whose stories are not being told that often or as much as they should be. And so we're going to keep doing this after February. So please keep an eye out. Like I said, like and subscribe. and so you can stay updated. So until next week, again, my name is Brother Charles Smoot. I don't wish I was a captain. I am very happy to be a deuce, but not everyone can understand that. But those who know. But I am profoundly proud to be the historian for the District of Illinois and be able to facilitate these discussions. So I will see you all next week. Thank you and good evening.